During today's extended power cuts, it was almost impossible for many families who depend upon electricity to cook or to heat and light their homes. Summer camping stoves and old paraffin lamps had been brought out of the attic and dusted down. It was meals by candlelight, but only for those who bought them before supplies ran out. It's now almost impossible to buy a candle, a stove or a heater. In ironmongers, it's always the same notice, and orders for fresh supplies have been in for days. At one shop in Redditch, they sold all their 7,000 candles in one morning.
So, Minister, we've run every viable model through the computer, and it looks like there just are no easy solutions to this recession.
Yeah, raising VAT, cutting VAT, raising interest rates.
Raising interest rates and VAT, lowering income tax and raising VAT.
None of it seems to really help.
Have you tried kill all the poor?
I had this conversation before.
I'm just saying, have you tried it?
No, of course we haven't tried it. We're not going to try it.
I'm not saying do it. I'm just saying run it through the computer, see if it would work.
Hi, and welcome to another edition of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And the bright-eyed amongst you may have noticed I've had a little trim. So, still silver, but less foxy. Anyway, in today's video, we're going to have a look at the very, very out-of-touch UN chief. He says that one of the results of these extremely high energy costs is that it's good for the planet. Yeah. Wow. So I hope you plebs out there, I'm one of them, us plebs. I hope we don't mind, you know, going back to living on our little collective farms, tugging our forelocks. Well, I haven't got any forelocks, but, you know, tugging me forelocks when the squire walks past, and going to market in our bare feet, because they want a return to slavery, to feudalism, to a mass reduction in the number of people. We'll take a look at this bit where Guterres says that high gas prices are a good thing. He's a knob. Anyway, I shall put myself down in my corner and we'll take a look. Right, so here's the piece, Breitbart. UN chief, tosspot, dirty, corrupt politician. Guterres says, and he's a socialist. That tells you everything you need to know. UN chief Guterres says, endure high gas prices for the good of the planet. No, more likely for the good of him, socialist tosser. The pain of soaring gas prices must be endured because any wider embrace of fossil fuels as an alternative is madness and threatens global climate targets. UN General Secretary Antonio Guterres cautioned Monday. This is a socialist, multi-millionaire, telling us what we should do. Meanwhile, he flies around the world in his jets. Hypocritical cock, isn't he? Also, he doesn't give a shit about people because he wants high gas prices so that food isn't taken in off the fields or delivered to shops. So people starve to death and get poor. And the biggest killer in the world is poverty. And this man is advocating world poverty. That tells you all you need to know about that socialist wanker. He wants people to die, and he also wants mass poverty so that they, the elite, can control even more. So that gives us a future of serfdom, because this is the new world order. High energy prices will price those bastards into serfdom. If they wanted to do anything about gas prices, and by gas I mean any kind of fuel prices, they'd all go massively nuclear, but they're not. Why the delay? Why the constant delay? Oh, scared because people, we are many, they are few, and they know that. We need to start dealing with these tossers. But he goes on and on because he's a socialist wanker. If countries become so consumed by the immediate fossil fuel supply gap that they neglect or kneecap policies to cut fossil fuel use, a climate disaster is guaranteed. He doesn't know that. He's not an expert. He's reading what left-wing, paid-for consultants have told him. Also, this fossil fuel gap he's talking about doesn't exist. Again, poverty exists. If you look at where the greatest output per person is, right? Not greatest output, but the greatest output per person is, it's an inverse ratio to poverty. The more you have per head of population, the smaller your carbon footprint in terms of energy uses. Because we in the West, relatively rich, and we have clean technologies, we have expensive technologies that cleans this and scrubs that and is low energy there or whatever. Poor people, predominantly in the East or the Southeast, don't have the facilities or the infrastructure and so use old technology. So their output is higher. Poverty leads to higher outputs. And he's advocating for more poverty. What does the guy want? I mean, obviously, an intelligent argument isn't going to work because the guy is a fuckwit. He hasn't got a clue. And he wants people to be poor, and he wants people to go hungry, and he wants people to die. And so when Granny's dead, dying of hypothermia, you know, and you're burying Granny, you know, you turn from the grave, look to the UN and say, thanks, UN. That's what she would have wanted. She wanted to die a cold, hungry death because fuel prices were so high, because cocks like Guterres, socialist millionaire wankers like Guterres, say that high prices for energy is a good thing. It's going to save the planet. No, I'll tell you what will save the planet. Condoms. That's the only thing that will save the planet. Too many mouths, too many people using. But no one in power has got the balls to say that. They can't say we need to reduce the population by, I don't know, sterilisation programs, using condoms. Let's encourage people. Let's give tax breaks to people and things like that. No. Let's do it the worst possible way. Let's make people starve to death or be so poor they can't afford medications and die of things they would have otherwise saved themselves off. So let's have really, really horrible deaths for millions upon millions of people. That's now UN policy, is it? Why are we listening to these massively evil left-wing socialist wankers in the UN? Because virtually every single one of the UN are socialists. Every single one. She says even America, that used to stand up and stand for something, they've elected a lefty. They've elected a ballsless, brainless prick who doesn't know his left shoe from his ear hole, and who's second in control is a fucking communist. Where's America fighting for these things? No, it's okay. We're going to stand up. Poverty's good. Death is good. Is that the official line from the UN now? Because if it is, we need to change the UN. We go on. In his first major speech on climate and energy since COP26, Guterres lamented the limited progress achieved in Glasgow is insufficient to ward off dangerous climate change. He's got no evidence of this. Show me. There is no dangerous climate change. There's just too many people change. Address that problem. And he's going on about it. All these problems haven't been solved. They're not going to be solved by poor fuck-witted people like you, Guterres, you left-wing socialist wanker. The war in Ukraine threatens to make that situation even more problematic, he said. Yeah, there's a reason that there's a shortage of energy is because of the war. The UN was set up to stop wars. The fact that there's wars means the UN is shit at its job. And he's the person at the top of that really shit organisation. So surely he should be the one that pays for it. So let's strip him of all his money and his wealth and his capital items and his homes, sell everything he's got, and use his money as the head of that shit organisation to pay for poor people's energy. And if that isn't enough, then we go to the next person down and the next person down until everyone who's in the UN has every asset stripped and every penny taken from them. And then we use all that money to pay for the poor to have energy. And let's see if that's a good idea. Now, I'm not a socialist. I hate socialism. But when you get millionaire socialists advocating this shit, they should be the ones to pay for it. And he goes on about, he says long-term planning is essential. Well, he hasn't planned for the energy over long term, has he? He's just said, no, we want to cut energy by 10 years. 10 years is not long term. 3-4 generations is long term. But these tossers want us to sit here and be poverty stricken, starved to death, cannot afford medication or anything like that because, oh, I want a virtue signal, save the planet, as I sit in my many bedroom mansion in my hundreds of acres with my private helicopter. Wanker. Look at the face of that wanker. If he's putting his hands over his ears to stop the world, stop hearing what the rest of the world is saying about him, he doesn't look as though he's gone short of a chop or two, does he? Anyway, I've had enough of him. I'm coming up and we'll round this off. Yeah, so what do we do about it? We don't vote them in. They're just a talking shop. But they're an evil bunch of talking shop wankers because they seem to have influence on other people. We didn't vote them in. Why are the people of Britain being forced to do something because our politicians listen to the UN? Pull out of the UN. Tell the UN, go boil your head. Because ultimately it's 200 countries, just shy of 200 countries, 180 of which always will vote against the top 20 because they're thinking money, better, oh, we want money, 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 all the way down. There's only about 5 countries in there that count. Thankfully, Britain's one of them, and that's because they're the permanent members of the Security Council. And Jesus, when we were in the EU wanted us to give up our seat at the UN Security Council and give it to the UN, to give it to the EU. The EU isn't even a country. The UN doesn't recognise the EU as a country. So it's just unbelievable. But these organisations, stop listening to them. Tell them to go fuck off. They're just so evil and so socialist. And they'll kill us all. They'll just absolutely kill us all. They're just pointless and evil. Well, like I say, we can do nothing except maybe vote in a government that will pull us out of the UN. I know America would love for some other country to host the UN because it costs America billions a year to maintain that building, and it isn't even their building because within the grounds of the UN, it's not the United States. They have their own police force. Anyone who works in there doesn't pay tax. It's all sorts of corrupt bollocks. Well, they're all corrupt, as I mentioned, every single one of them. If you work for the UN, you are corrupt, and it's as simple as that. Anyway, if you like what you hear and see on this channel, please subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a like. Ring the bell for notifications. And leave a comment. We love comments. But seriously, I do get off on a rant every now and again. But I do appreciate other people's views. So, yeah, you can either agree with me, or maybe you like the UN and think it's important. I don't care. Give me your opinion and I will respond. Until next time, stay safe, stay well, and goodbye.